Hello, my friends. I'm back again, and I'm recording this in my old neighborhood. Don't ask me why I am doing that, because I honestly don't know why. I wanted to come over here and miss it. I'm being a fucking weirdo. It's okay. Hi, you guys. I hope you guys have been doing well. I wanted to make a video just basically talking about what I have been experiencing lately in my life, which has been me realizing that I have been taking life entirely too seriously, and that I have just been letting a lot of responsibilities and pressures get to me, and I've just been really overwhelming myself with things that not even worth getting overwhelmed about and getting worked up about. But I feel like this can happen to me from time to time. Generally, I would say every couple of months, twice a year, I don't know, a quarterly crisis. I'm unsure exactly. It kind of just depends. But I will kind of fall out of the habit of taking time for myself to be able to recharge and to be able to unplug from the outside world, from the matrix, from my responsibilities, from my to-do list, and just be able to really sit in silence and go within and just pause and maybe sit with things that need to be sat with. And so, yeah, I think that lately I have just been really go, go, go. I don't even work that much, to be honest. I only work 3 days a week, so I can't even blame it on work. But I think that by the time I get home from work, I'm generally pretty tired, so I usually don't do much for myself. Lately, really, all I've been wanting to do is scroll when I get home, which is terrible. So there definitely has been some of that, but I think that in my free time, I have just been waking up and wanting to run out of the house immediately. Like, I will, quickly meditate, shower, get ready, and then just grab a protein bar and run out the door and just like, I don't know, I'll make up this list in my head of things that I feel like I need to do, and it's not even stuff that actually needs to get done. It's more so like just random tasks that really are not like, don't have like an impending due date or timeline or whatever. Like they're fine, but I've noticed lately that I've just been putting this like obscene amount of pressure on myself to just be moving all the time and be doing things. And I was actually getting to the point recently where I was starting to almost have panic attacks, which is not normal for me. I used to experience a lot of panic when I was younger, and I'd have really intense panic attacks. If my parents wouldn't text me back, I automatically thought they had died. I would have panic attacks regarding my health. I would think that I was dying, and it would make my mom call an ambulance. So I used to experience that, and I feel like later in life, I've been able to learn a lot of different techniques and ways, and I've just gathered a lot of like resources, and I've gotten to a point where I am generally really, really good at processing my emotions and being able to stay very grounded behind them and to just be able to hold space for them, which I will probably make a video on soon. But yeah, it was getting to the point recently where I was just noticing a lot of like panicky thoughts come up, and it was very difficult for me to stay grounded behind them and to just observe them. I was aware of it as it was happening, so I wasn't completely lost in the sauce of the feelings, but the thoughts were so intense and like trying to pull me in so badly that there were moments where I really had like serious breakdowns recently, and usually it was just over small things, like just feeling really overwhelmed by all these tasks that I was trying to do and by trying to like get out of the house and just rush. And when I sit with myself, I'm like, Emily, none of these things even need to get done right now. But there was just this underlying sense of urgency, and I think just like wanting to be doing something. But it was just becoming entirely too much. And so that's been happening, and I think I've just been falling into these like capitalistic ideals of feeling like I need to just be very productive and need to be outputting a lot and like just need to be doing the most and like running all over, even though it's not even intentional or purposeful, like, which is so the opposite of how I would generally live my life. I am such a proponent of slow mornings and of taking your time and of like not even prioritizing being productive in any kind of a way, but more so just really putting my focus on being intentional and being very present with myself throughout the day, even if that means going very slowly, even if that means like not actually, you know, getting certain tasks done, but just sitting with emotions that need to be felt, or just going through the day at my own pace is really something that's always been more important to me. So it's really interesting when I can feel that I have fallen into certain mind frames and certain shifts that are not even like my core beliefs about how I want to be living my life. But I have just been noticing that within myself. And normally I'm somebody that also like doesn't even like to think about time and doesn't like to live like super strictly by the constructs of time. But I've just been observing within myself, like feeling really guilty if I sleep in, even if I need the sleep, and just really putting these like strict like time frames on myself and just noticing myself being like, well, I need to get this done by this time, and then I can do this by this time and this and this. And it's just like, it's become so strict and so rigid. Okay, my camera just did something weird, so hopefully the angle isn't that different than what it was. But anyways, I was just saying how I usually don't even like to live strictly by like the confines of time, because time isn't even real. And I have lived eras in my life where I didn't have as many responsibilities, like during the pandemic, where I wasn't working for part of it, and I had the opportunity to just kind of experiment in my own life and see what it was like to just live freely out of the matrix, where I would just wake up when I woke up. I'd go to bed when I went to bed. It didn't matter what time of day it was. I mean, I think it generally would be, you know, go to sleep at some point when the sun goes down and wake up at some point when the sun rises. But it was kind of like, you'll catch me if you catch me. There was no strict anything. There was no strict anything. I was just vibing and being very present. And that was amazing. And obviously, we have responsibilities that we have to tend to in this reality. And obviously, we can't just dip off and, you know, do that all the time. We have appointments. We have things that need to be tended to. We have bills to pay. We have to show up for work. So while I do obviously believe that it's really, really important to stay on top of those things and tend to your responsibilities, I also think that it is very important to be taking time for yourself to unplug from those things when you can, and to be able to recharge and to have joy in your life outside of these responsibilities, and to not let those become your whole entire life, because I feel like I have just gotten so strict and so rigid lately. And this is what happens to me every couple of months. This is literally what happens, where I just start taking life way too seriously. Everything builds up. All this pressure builds up. I'm not having fun anymore. I'm living like I literally have a stick up my ass. Like, I used to stay up until 2 a.m. I love nighttime, by the way. I love nighttime. I've always loved nighttime. For the majority of my life, I will go through the day and I will feel tired and I will feel anxious and I will feel foggy. And then as soon as it hits 8 or 9 p.m., I instantly feel awake. I feel full of life. I feel excited about life. I feel inspired again. I feel free. I feel zero anxiety. And usually it's kind of a bummer, because it's like, well, fuck, I should probably be going to bed soon if I want to like get enough sleep for work, or just like maintain somewhat of a routine like through the weekend. But I love nighttime, and I love being able to just stay up late when I don't have anything going on the next morning, and to be able to just feel into those vibes. And it's usually when I feel the most creative. I just feel the most myself. And I used to stay up until midnight, 2 a.m., do my makeup at midnight, 2 a.m., just like play around with different looks, and I would take pictures, and I would try on outfits, and I would color, and I would do yoga, and I would just do all of these things in the middle of the night, and they would bring me so much joy. And I just lately have been like super hard on myself and feeling like I have to go to bed super early, and if I sleep in, that I'm like being irresponsible or something, even though I won't even have anything going on that day. But just falling into this like really, really weird mindset. So I've definitely been observing that happening to me lately, and generally the way that I respond to that mindset is actually freaking out a little bit in the moment and being very dramatic and being like, oh my God, what's happening? Like, what am I doing with my life? What's going on? And if you follow me on Twitter, then you probably see that happen every couple of months. And I've just grown to accept that is just how I process my emotions. I think that when something happens in my life, or when I notice that something is off, I just have to be very theatrical. I have to be very dramatic in the moment in order to feel all of my feelings. And it's also kind of like that meme where it's like, my bad, I didn't realize everything was going to work out. Yeah, I will kind of have a little mini freak out for a second, but it's okay, because, you know, I just got to get that out of the way. And then once I'm able to kind of work through those like strong emotions of like, fuck, something isn't right, or like, fuck, I'm like scared because like I've swayed so far from how I want to be living my life, I'm able to reel it in a little bit, and I am able to remember what are the things that we can do that make us feel like ourselves, that help us to cleanse ourselves, that help us to recharge, that help us to fill ourselves with more energy and fill our cup and get back to that place of just feeling really balanced in our life and taking life less seriously, basically. So yeah, this was all happening to me recently. I was having, a little freak out. I think that this really stemmed, I'd already been like feeling a lot of anxiety and having these panicky thought loops. I was honestly like already starting to kind of go down a hill, and I was observing this as it was happening, and I wasn't sure where it was coming from exactly, but I watched a video of Isabel Page's on here a couple of weeks ago, and if you don't know her channel, she basically lives in a tiny house in Washington State, just in the forest, and she just lives the dream, to be honest. She just lives a very slow life, and she gets to go and swim in the river and just like lay in the grass and like read her book and do her hobbies, and she's just basically like very out of the rat race. And I watched this video in the midst of being on my period, in the midst of already feeling like I was going fucking crazy and just feeling a million emotions. And I was like, Emily, what the fuck are we doing? We are living our life so wrong. Like, I started to reevaluate my entire life and living in LA and even going after the goals that I've been going after, because I was like, this girl is doing it right. She is just relaxing. She's just laying in the grass. She's reading, like, literally, what am I doing? And I started to panic, and I started to be like, oh my God, do I need to move back to Washington? Do I need to like go off the grid? Like, what the fuck? And luckily I have some very supportive people in my life that were able to kind of talk me off the ledge and just really, really bring me back to myself. And I was able to remember that I actually really love my life here. I love living in LA. I moved here for a reason. The majority of the time, I am so happy that I live here, sincerely. I really, really do love it here. I love the palm trees. I love the beach. I love that there's fun, creative things going on. I have good friends out here. I feel grounded. I really, really do like it. And I do have these goals that I have been working for years that are things that I really do feel called to. And I have this view of my life that is very, very expansive. And those things are all really valid, and they are real. And so sincerely, I think that if I were to go move off the grid, I don't think I would actually be happy. I think that it would be amazing, and I would love to experience it in smaller doses, but I do love being around people. I do love getting my nails done and doing my hair and doing cute looks and like going out, and I really, at least like while I'm younger right now in this era of my life, I really am enjoying that. So I think that instead of like automatically thinking that I needed to just like fucking dip off and change my entire life, it was really just a wake-up call for me to realize that I need to be taking these breaks more often. I need to be going out in nature more often. I need to be prioritizing alone time, because for me, that's how I recharge. And I used to not even be able to handle like being social more than twice a week. I used to get really, really, really overwhelmed and really drained, and I would get really anxious and I'd go nonverbal and I couldn't interact with others. Like once my social battery was drained, it was drained. And I think that over the last, even just like the last year, year and a half, I've gotten a lot better with that, and I'm able to adapt a lot better, and I'm able to be a lot busier, and I'm able to be out of the house and jump from one thing to a next so much better than I ever could in the past. And I feel really, really grateful that I have been able to get better at those things and that I'm able to adapt in those ways. But I think that I can forget sometimes how much better I feel when I do take some time for myself to recharge, and when I do take some time to pause, and when I do take some time to tune in and slow down and just unplug from the world around me and take time to like intentionally fill up my cup. And I think that lately when I want to unwind, I want to watch a show or go on my phone, and I just have to be so aware of that causing me anxiety in the moment, and of just like realizing that that's actually not really resting and that's not really recharging. I'm just taking in a bunch more information, especially Twitter. Twitter is so bad because it's just taking in so many people's thoughts and opinions, and it just sways your brain to be like, oh, well, maybe I should be thinking like, oh, I should be doing, and it's just like, for me at least, I just have to be super fucking aware of like just scrolling and realizing that's actually probably not that calming for my nervous system. And so, yeah, that led me to where I am now, which is returning to the things that actually do help me to relax and feel good. So the other day I took myself on a hike, and that was really, really lovely. And it just felt so good to get out in nature again. And I love doing solo hikes. And I would say that nature is probably my number one way to unplug. I just love it. Everything is just slowed down, and I feel like you just learn so much from nature about like the natural cycles of things. And I don't know, I just feel like the trees are there loving and supporting us, and we're able to just really, really take some deep breaths, and it's just so relaxing and recharging, and we are so blessed to have nature. And I think that when I lived in Washington, there was a park by my house that was beautiful, and it was just this big forest, and it was so lush and green and so much grass, and I would go there almost every day to just like reset myself. And since I moved to California, obviously the nature is very different here. It's very dry. So I just don't think I've been going out in nature as much here, but I really need to be making it a point, even if it's a little bit further of a drive, or even if the nature doesn't look like what I grew up with per se. The hike that I went on the other day was like an hour away, and it was so nice. It was so refreshing, and it was exactly what I needed. And I went the morning of the full moon in Sagittarius, and it just felt like the best thing I could have done for myself. So that was so nice. And then last night I had a little solo mushroom night with myself where I ate some of this mushroom chocolate bar. And mushrooms are something that I use as a tool and that I have so much reverence for and so much gratitude for. And I, really like to use them as like on like an as-need basis, where when I get in these frames of mind where I'm like, okay, I can tell I'm taking life way too seriously and I need to just calm down and remember that none of it is that big of a deal and that everything is actually okay, going to continue to be okay. Or if I feel like there's been some looming thoughts that maybe I haven't been able to fully sit with and acknowledge and give the attention that they need, I like to use mushrooms for that, and I like to just be very intentional. I'll sit down and I'll write down whatever intentions I have for that specific time and what I want to get out of the experience, and I will get all of my art supplies and my journal and my yoga mat and books and just whatever I want to make me feel comfy and safe and give me some activities. And I'll just put my phone on Do Not Disturb and really just sit with myself and tune in and kind of take inventory of what needs to be felt. And that's something that really, really works for me. And pretty much every single time I just end up sobbing and crying and feeling and releasing. And most of the time too, I end up just putting on music and like turning off all the lights and just stretching and just tuning in with my body, moving things through moving my body, let go of things through moving my body, let them release. And I just really, really get out of my head and into my body. And it's just such a beautiful experience. And so I did that after the hike the other night and last night, actually. It was totally last night. And that was amazing. And I will say, I thought I was going to cry a lot, but I actually had like a total mental breakdown 2 days ago, the day before, where I sobbed a lot. And I didn't even know why I was crying. I think there was just a culmination of things. And this is something that I've also learned. I remember this one very specific day, and I remember writing in my journal saying that I had cried all day this one day, and I didn't even know why, but the next day I felt so much lighter. And that's when I realized, like, okay, I don't always even need to know why I'm feeling things or what's happening, but just allowing the emotions to be processed and allowing the emotions to move through you. So just being able to stay grounded and allow those things to be felt when they are needing to be felt. And it can be scary in the moment because it can be like, why the fuck am I having a breakdown? Why am I sobbing? What's going on? But I think it's just so important to remember that just like, I don't know, we're feeling through so many things. There's so many changes happening in our lives all the time. And maybe sometimes we can think that we're handling it really well and we're trucking along, but things need to be felt, and maybe it's just a culmination of things going on, whatever the case may be. But just remembering to really, really slow down enough to let those things be felt and to try to not freak out in the moment too, and to know that it is going to be okay. And you're generally going to feel a lot lighter after you get those feelings out of your system anyways. So I know that the other day, like I said, I'm normally really good at processing my emotions. The other day was really, really rough. Even people that know me really well were like, this is a little concerning. Like, you're definitely having a really hard time. But then I felt so much better the next day. So I really do just think it's important to feel the feelings, remain calm. You're going to be okay. They're coming up for a reason. Even if you don't know the reason, they're coming up for a reason, and you're processing through them that way, and you're allowing them to be felt so that they can leave. That's what's important to do. And yeah, so anyways, when I took the mushrooms, I thought I was totally going to have this like really intense emotional time, but I think I had already cried a lot of my tears out. So I actually just had a very, very sweet and tender time with myself. No tears, definitely like a lot of realizations and downloads that I was able to write down. But overall, I think it was a really, really sweet experience with myself and really, really grounding. And I'm just really, really grateful for it. And I could totally make a more specific video on mushrooms at some point. But yeah, those are a really, really great tool for me. So really grateful that I was able to do nature and the mushrooms. And then also for me, just remembering to put my phone on Do Not Disturb more often and just tune in with things outside of a screen, tune in with my body, tune in with my life and what's sitting right in front of me, and doing activities and hobbies that make me feel really good and make me feel like myself and make me feel grounded. And yoga is such a good one for me too, being able to tune in with my body and kind of fall back more into the role of the observer. But obviously this can look entirely different for you, but we just all need to remember to do those things and need to remember that of course we need to tend to our responsibilities, and of course life is serious at times. We need to honor that. But I just think that we really are meant to enjoy our time here, and that our natural frequency is so high, and that it can really get dragged down and dulled down by a lot of the things that we have to tend to in this experience. And we can really lose sight of the plot. And we can really just start to put this pressure on ourselves that isn't necessary. So I just deeply believe that life is supposed to be fun and that we are generally supposed to feel good and light in this experience. So just make sure, this is me talking to myself, Emily, like we need to be prioritizing taking those breaks, and I shouldn't go months without doing those things. And just also remembering that it's like, yeah, I don't need to be doing the most. I don't have to wake up early. My life doesn't have to look up like this one certain way of living. And also, it will probably change. Like maybe I'll feel more inclined to have a stricter routine at a different point in my life. But right now, it's like, I think that I just need to take a step back and allow myself to sleep in, allow myself to have a slow morning, to do yoga, to take my time, to journal, to sit with myself instead of feeling like I need to like be a super early bird and run out of the house and get all these things done. I think for me, like, I'm just tuning out of that mindset and just really, really coming back to myself and allowing myself to go slow and to tend to all of the things that need tending to. And it just feels really, really rich right now. And yeah, I'm just really grateful to be where I am now and to be feeling mentally fucking sane again, because damn, that was really, really rough. So yeah, I guess this was just like a chit chat video to remind you guys to unplug when necessary. And also just wanted to say that any time that you take to yourself to unplug, to work on things, to sit with feelings, I promise you are not going to miss out on anything. There is nothing more important that you could be doing with your time. I know it's easy to get FOMO if you decide to stay home because you feel like you need to maybe sit with some things or process some things, but I promise it's so beneficial and you're going to come out feeling so much lighter. The time that you take for yourself, you just end up feeling so much more connected to yourself. You fill your cup so that you feel good, and then in turn, you're able to give your energy to the people that you love, and you're able to show up in the world in just such a more loving and intentional way. So just don't be afraid to unplug from the outside world. I really promise you, you are not going to miss out on anything. And yeah, it's just so nice to even have that like intimate time with yourself and to connect more deeply with yourself and to just sit with the feelings. And I just saw this quote on Instagram, so I'm just going to read it to you guys really quick. The ego says, if it hurts, cover it up, run from it, numb it with addictions, avoid it at all costs. The soul says, if it hurts, then as hard as it is, turn towards it, see it, be present with it, give it your love and compassion, for you can't cut off a part of yourself and feel whole. So yeah, I resonate with that so deeply. It can totally be scary and freaky when you feel all of these intense emotions or thoughts coming up, but really the only way to get through it and to truly let them go is to sit with those things and to acknowledge them and to be really gentle with yourself in the process and to be really compassionate towards those thoughts. They're there for a reason, and they're basically like needy little kids just like wanting your attention. And so I know it can be easy to want to just push them down and keep living your life, especially if you are busy. Even having the time to be able to do this work is such a privilege and a luxury. And even having the time to be able, this is another thing too that I tell myself when I start to feel guilty about sleeping in or about taking my day slowly, it is such an honor and a privilege to be able to even have the spare time to do that. A lot of people have so many responsibilities and they have to look out for other people in their lives, and they don't have that time to do that. So never feel guilty about that. Feel grateful that you even can do that. It's crazy. And it's just, these fucking, I don't know what it roots in, capitalism or just this fucking productive society. It's insane, and it can really just grab you by the neck. So you really have to stay aware and return yourself back to truth. And oh my God, it's so crazy. But yeah, just make sure you're taking that time for yourself. Make sure you're taking those breaks so you can feel really, really good in your life. Sit with the things, process the things, and you'll come out so much lighter. But I love you guys so much. Hopefully that was in focus. I couldn't even see. I love you guys so much. And I'm really excited to continue making videos and to continue connecting with you guys. And it just made my heart so happy that my last video reached more people and that you guys connected with it. And yeah, I'm just so happy to be here and so honored that you guys are giving me your time and energy. And I love you guys so much, and I'm wishing you the best, and I'm sending you all a hug. And yeah, I will see you guys in a video soon. Okay, bye!